Alrighty. We ready to jump over to the Bears?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So this time I will be introducing my players, and then Mac will let us know if he happened to pick anyone different. So again, we'll go by position group. So my all-time Bears quarterback is Sid Luckman. So he was there from 1939 to 1950. I think it's fair to say they might have the worst quarterback tradition in the NFL. Maybe the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, they're on the short list.
Yeah.
The Bears are on the short list.
Yeah. But Sid Luckman, again, from 39 to 50, Hall of Famer, 4-time NFL champ, 1-time MVP, first-team All-Pro, kind of a revolutionary type quarterback for the time period. But, I think Caleb Williams has a chance to dethrone him if he keeps
100%,
going on this path.
100%.
Probably the only Bears quarterback that you could say had a shot at doing so over the past 50 years, or 70 years. It's been a long time since Sid Luckman lined up for the Bears. For my skill position guys, I went with a kind of unorthodox formation because of the lack of pass catching weapons for the Bears. So I went with 2 running backs and a fullback. For my running backs, I went with Walter Payton. Sweetness was, the all-time leading rusher for a while until Emmitt Smith took over. People say he's the best running back of all time, and I can understand that. Suffered a lot on some bad teams, but, thankfully did win his Super Bowl championship. Also an MVP, 8-time All-Pro between first and second team. And then my second running back, you can kind of these guys are interchangeable, I think, in terms of their greatness. Gale Sayers, so player who had his career cut short, played there from 65 to 71, another Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Pro. Again, he only played 7 years, so it's impressive. 4-time Pro Bowler, great nickname, the Kansas Comet, probably the best player out of Kansas ever, and just one of the most elusive, electric runners. So they had 2 guys that were, for his team as physical as the Bears is, to have 2, not finesse runners, but
right. Elusive runners.
Elusive, yes. Mercurial. And then for my fullback, I went with an old school name that I think a lot of people know because of the award named after him, and that is, my fullback is Bronco Nagurski. Incredible name. That's not even his nickname. I think that's just his name.
That's just it.
Yeah, just his name. Played there for 14 years, from 1930 to 1943, 5-time All-Pro, Hall of Famer, and a member of the 1930s decade team. So any changes in those 4 guys? Or that group?
No, exactly the same 4. I went with the full house backfield as well.
Yeah.
And Bronco Nagurski is another guy who paused his professional football career for 6 years and became a professional wrestler. So he was, I believe, from 1937, 38 to 43 was out. So many players got drafted for the World War II effort that they coaxed him out of retirement, and he helped them win the 1943 NFL championship. He was old, he was slow. They had him playing offensive line, and then they switched him towards the end of the season, they switched him to fullback, to his customary position of fullback, and he helped them win that title. But he was also, just like Alex Karras, he was a professional wrestler while in the middle of his professional football career.
Yeah. I love these nuggets. This is why you're my co-host. You've got these amazing nuggets. Wide receivers, not a lot to choose from. So I went with 1 wide receiver and 1 tight end. So I went with Harlan Hill, played there from 54 to 61, was an MVP, which you don't see a lot for a wide receiver. 3-time All-Pro, and an incredible deep threat for the era. So one thing I noticed with a lot of these guys is you'll look at their raw numbers and you're like, wow, he only rushed for 600 yards. And then you're like, wait, this is a 12-game season.
Yes.
And then he'll have, 800 yards from scrimmage. And again, you'll be like, oh, that's nothing special, or, 4 or 5 touchdowns. Then you're like, oh, he only played 10 games out of a 12-game season or whatever it is. That's why he was the All-Pro.
Sure.
So you definitely need some context. But Mike Ditka, you don't think you need any context for him. He's just, his numbers still held up until 2 years ago. I think Sam Laporta broke his rookie receiving record, and then Brock Bowers did it shortly after. So crazy that his numbers lasted this long. But he played there from 61 to 66, also a Hall of Famer, 1-time NFL champion, first team All-Pro 4 times, total All-Pros, I believe 4. And I think he's the slam dunk head coach choice for this team as
well.
well.
You know what? That's interesting. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Or we can talk about it now if you want.
No, let's wait, because I just want to throw that in. But yeah, just an incredible player who, like they say, he kind of revolutionized the position. He turned the tight end into more of a downfield threat versus a possession guy. So yeah, that's my those are my 2 pass catchers.
Yeah, 100% on Ditka. He was really the first tight end used as a weapon, right? Because the position was really known as end, and it wasn't until Ditka that the emphasis for the tight end position was as much catch the football as it was be a sixth offensive lineman. So that was Ditka's doing. Rookie year, like you said, his rookie year was the record for 50 years or more.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and still holds up as a great rookie season for a tight end. As wide receiver, I also went with one wide receiver. I chose Johnny Morris, who was a first-team All-Pro, who was the Triple Crown winner in 1964. So again, it kind of goes hand in hand. The poor quarterback tradition also lends itself to the poor wide receiver tradition. The fact that he's their all-time leading receiver with 5,000 yards. That's like 3 good seasons for a wide receiver now. But he is still their all-time, I believe, their all-time leading receiver with that few yards.
Yeah, and they've had some decent players in recent history. Brandon Marshall, I think, gets a shout here. Alshon Jeffrey wasn't there for that long. But yeah, these guys don't stick around for a long time in Chicago. Mushin Muhammad is another one you could probably throw in there, but they don't stay there long enough.
Brandon Marshall played there. I mean, there was a few guys. Yeah.
And the quarterback, they still have never had a 4,000-yard passer,
which is bananas.
Yeah, Caleb Williams came close. I think he was at like 38 or 3,900 last year.
Cutler's came close a couple times as well.
Yeah, he would have hit it, I think, one year, but he missed the last couple games with injury. But he was well on pace. So I'm waiting for Caleb Williams to break that record.
Well,
it's about time.
If he doesn't, exactly right. If he doesn't, he'd be a bust if he didn't. I don't expect him to be a bust. I expect him to be a good, if not a great quarterback.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be easier in the new stadium if they make it a dome down in Indiana.
For sure. For sure.
That'll make things a little bit easier to throw the ball around. Alrighty. For my offensive line, this was kind of tough. There was not too many clear winners, so you kind of have to parse through some of these. But for my tackles, I went with Jimbo Covert and Keith Van Horn. Not the famous New Jersey Net, the Chicago Bear, Keith Van Horn.
Right.
And then for my guards, I went with Danny Fortman, so old school name from the 30s, and Stan Jones, a little less old school from the 50s. And then Bulldog Turner, who many say is the best offensive lineman in Bears history, played there from 40 to 52. He was part of that dynasty team when they won a bunch of championships during that time period. I was trying to find place for Olin Kreutz, but he couldn't, I don't think he had enough accolades to knock any of these guys off for me. But that is my starting 5.
And I have 4 of the same 5. Now, one of the things that was interesting about the Bears, they have 10 players in the Hall of Fame who are offensive linemen who played 50 or more games for the team. 10 of them. Only one of them played after 1962. And that's Jimbo Covert. So you've got all of these Hall of Fame offensive linemen who were in the 20s, 30s, 40s, who were in the before there was even specialization, so they were playing offensive line with something else. So I've got Bulldog Turner and Fortman. Fortman is an NFL 100 player, so he's one of the top 100 according to the NFL. Stan Jones, Jimbo Covert, and I went with Link Lyman, who was a Hall of Famer from 1922. He played from 1922 to 1934. So again, it's almost not as fun to pick guys from that era, but at the same time, they're in the Hall of Fame for a reason. So let's give them their due. So we have 4 of the same. Link Lyman, the 5th, is different.
Yeah, maybe this is a good time to have this conversation about how do you weigh some of these personal accolades from that era when it was, there's 8 teams or 10 teams in the NFL. Like, how valuable is an NFL All-Pro at that point versus now, or even, when there was 28 teams or 30, however many teams there might have been before the merger.
Right. It's a valid conversation. I mean, the NFL had a long period where there were only 10 teams. Then you had the 60s where you had 10, 12 NFL teams and then another 10 AFL teams. Both sides are giving all pros. So you're kind of it's watered down in that way. You don't have all of
Yeah.
the best players in the same league. I think Pro Football Reference has a little discount factor that they use. They count
Oh, do they?
an
Okay.
AFL Pro Bowl is, or excuse me, an AFL All Pro is not a full All Pro for their math when they're doing things like they've got this measure called what's it called,
Yeah, the
approximate
approximate
value.
value. Yeah.
Yeah, where they try to. Yeah, it's a great idea where
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
they try to put a numerical value on how good a player was, so that it could be compared across different positions
Hmm.
and different eras. They try as well, but it's definitely a discount factor, right? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't be wrong to say that an All Pro today is worth two in
Yeah.
1960
For
or
sure.
before.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be wrong to say that, because obviously you're competing against twice the number of players and
Or three
twice or more,
times.
yeah, or three times the number of
Yeah.
teams. So to be the first or second best player in 2025 means something entirely different than being the
Hmm.
first or second best player in 1963, especially
Yeah.
if you did that in a 10-team AFL or a 12-team NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think both of us, we're definitely not the ones that will discount, historical achievements. I think
Mm.
we always look at things in context, and that's what matters. It's the
Yes.
historical context. If you have 800 yards receiving in 1960, that's worth, I don't know, 1,800 in
Yes.
2024 or 2025,
Exactly.
whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
So this is kind of the opposite, but it's
Mhm.
still worth, you were still the best of that era, and that's
Yes.
what matters. Maybe
Yes.
it hurts your long-term GOAT case, but that's all subjective anyway.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
objectively, at that time, you were the best player at your position,
Yeah.
and it's not like we can put you in a time machine and compare you to other eras. So
Exactly.
that's really
Yeah.
what matters.
Well,
So,
and that's the thing, is like you I have so much respect for that, right? And that's still, unfortunately, that's the best way we have to compare
mhm,
players across eras, is all
yeah,
pros, because an all pro means the same thing in 1960. I mean, you might weight them differently, but what they're awarding means the same thing in 1960 as 2025.
100%,
It
100%.
is the best player at that position. So
Yeah.
that's my starting point always for when starting to compare across eras.
For sure, for sure. Alrighty, let's talk about the Bears defense. This was tough.
Oh my
This
goodness.
was
Oh my goodness. I did a little
for some
finagling. I'm just
positions.
gonna let you know I did a little finagling.
Oh, absolutely. You kind of have to, right? Because the defensive backs was a little
Mm.
iffy there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went with a sort of unorthodox formation. I went with a 4-4. So four linebacker,
I
four
love
four
it.
defensive line, four linebackers.
The front eight
This.
will get him and you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. You could have me and you could be back there playing
Yeah,
defensive back, and it
exactly.
wouldn't matter. So for my four defensive linemen, for my ends, I went with Richard Dent and Doug Atkins. So my Richard Dent, uh, I've heard he's not a very nice guy.
I hadn't heard that, but I guess,
That's the
unfortunately,
reputation.
the era,
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
But yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, 124 sacks, 124 and a half sacks, four-time All-Pro, Super Bowl MVP. Doug Atkins, little old school from the 50s and 60s, also Hall of Famer, NFL champ, super athletic guy. He kind of was an outlier in terms of his size and speed for
Mhm.
that era, so he
Yep.
stands out. For my defensive tackle, I went with Dan Hampton, played there from 79 to 90, played both defensive tackle and defensive end, so you could kind of, it was an easy one to finagle,
Mhm.
but also four-time All-Pro. And then Steve McMichael was
Yeah,
my other
yep.
defensive tackle from 81 to 93, also recent Hall of Famer, NFL champ as well. Great nickname, I believe they called him Mongo,
Mongo,
which
yep.
is awesome. Any changes for you on that defensive line?
Yes, I went with a front seven,
Okay.
and I did a little finagling. So,
Okay. Okay.
so I've got Dent, I've got Dan Hampton, I've got Doug Atkins,
Okay.
another NFL 100 player. But so my edges are Atkins and Dent. I have Hampton inside, but I put Bill George inside.
Oh,
And the reason I
okay.
did that, Bill George is known to, if you know Bill George at all, you know him as a linebacker, probably.
Hmm.
He is sometimes credited as the first middle linebacker. But the reason why that came about is because he was playing in a five-man front in an era where passing was starting to take over, and in defense or offense was starting to take advantage of the middle of the field. So he almost spontaneously started dropping back from his nose tackle position because he had the skill set to be able to do that and play the middle. And it became an effective middle linebacker position.
Wow.
But he started his career as what they called middle guard, the nose tackle. So he was a 2-time All-Pro, first-team All-Pro at middle guard, and then a 6-time first-team All-Pro at middle linebacker. But I put him in as middle guard because I needed space for the linebackers. so a little finesse.
We kind of had the same idea, right? I guess he could drop down. They can do a 5-man front, which I believe is called the Bear front, so it works out. That's the Bears defense. So my linebackers, there's probably, you could have picked 7 guys here, maybe 8. I don't know. There's just they probably compared to like the Steelers, they probably have the best linebacker group all time, in terms of depth, and just pure star power. So a lot of these are middle linebackers, so I just went with linebacker. I didn't feel the need to you could throw. So I got Mike Singletary, 81 and 92, Hall of Famer, Defensive Player of the Year twice. That's a very impressive, very rare achievement.
Yes.
Very few guys. I think only 2 or 3 other guys in NFL history have done that. 8-time All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler. Next to him, I have Dick Butkus, so the original monster of the Midway, Hall of Famer as well, 8-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. And then I went with Bill George as my other linebacker. And then Brian Urlacher, so one of the more recent players on this list, so not too many of those. Also a Hall of Famer, multi-time All-Pro. He was one of the guys that I think helped revolutionize that middle linebacker position from being, 260 pounds with a giant neck roll, and I'm gonna, to the guy that's chasing your tight end down the field, or covering your slot receiver 40 yards downfield. I was very tempted to put him at strong safety, just so I could make this work. Because he played strong safety in college.
I believe he did. Yeah.
And that's, honorable mention guys like Lance Briggs, throw Khalil Mack in there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Khalil Mack.
Just so many names of incredible linebackers. Roquan Smith when he was there for a bit. So just an incredible group of guys. So who were your linebackers?
Well, I've got Butkus, Singletary, and Urlacher. Okay. So between them and then add Bill George, you've got 5 decades covered, 5 all-decade awards covered with those 4 linebackers. Yeah. Dick Butkus is one of my favorite little nuggets about him. He was all-decade for the 1960s and the 1970s. He retired in 1973. And he was all decade for the 1970s.
That's incredible.
And 73, I don't believe he finished the season. So because his career ended due to injury. So he played 3 full seasons in the 70s, and he was considered all decade for the 1970s. That's how good he was.
There's a lot of great linebackers in that era too.
He won. Prior to the AP started giving the Defensive Player of the Year award in 1971. There was an award prior to that was considered the official Defensive Player of the Year. Butkus won that award, Defensive Player of the Year, in 1969 for a 1-win team. That's how good he was. Yeah. Just unbelievable.
He rises above the rest. I think if you had to pick one guy from this group, it's probably Butkus, but there's so much talent in this group. I hope they don't start retiring linebacker numbers, because they'll run out of numbers.
They won't have any 50s if they start doing that.
Alrighty. And then my defensive backs, I only had room for 3. So I went with Charles Tillman, the Peanut Punch. So again, one of the more recent players here. Played there from 2003 to 2014. 1-time first-team All-Pro, but he has an incredible record of forcing 44 fumbles with that Peanut Punch.
Yeah.
The other corner, I went with Richie Pettibon. Played there from 59 to 68. 3-time All-Pro. He played primarily strong safety, but a little bit of cornerback as well, so I had to finagle it a little bit. He's second on the team in career interceptions, and then my free safety, I went with the career leader in interceptions for the Bears, and that's Gary Fensick. Also Super Bowl champ, was on that 85 team, first-team All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler. But yeah, not much to choose from the defensive backs, which I was surprised by.
Yeah, it was hard. I have the same 3 that you have. I went with at the other corner. I went with Darnell Wolford, who was their second Number 4 all time in franchise history in interceptions, number 2 among corners. So I'm like, okay, I need a corner. Sadly, I mean, it was basically give him his respect as one of the best corners in Bears franchise history. But when you compare this group to the front 7 or front 8, it's not the same.
Exactly. But
Not
like
the
we
same.
said, I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah.
At that point.
Not the same. Yeah.
With the front 7 or front 8 that we've got lined up. And then for my head coach, I went with Mike Ditka. I know there's some disagreement here.
Well,
possibly.
no, not disagreement. I think that I'm going to reinforce your point.
Okay.
And say that I would pick Ditka too, but the knee-jerk reaction from many fans is that it's got to be Halas. Halas has 318 wins. He's got to be the guy. But when you think about when those wins were accumulated, he had, I went and did the math. He had 168 wins prior to integration. His first win was against, I think, Moline Universal Tractor, who was not an NFL team. In the first season of the NFL, you didn't have to be an NFL team to play other NFL teams, and all of those games counted on the record. So when you compare his post-segregation record to Ditka's post-segregation record, Ditka has 106 wins in 11 seasons in a title in a fully integrated league. Halas's integration stats, 150 wins in 20 seasons. 2 titles,
not great.
7.5 wins per season. So it is, if you want to say Halas, if you want to say the respect should be given to the number of wins, then I mean, I see the argument. I just don't agree with the argument. And then in terms of Ditka has a legit, even with all of the Halas's wins, Ditka has a more than legitimate case to be considered the best coach in this franchise's history. So I'm with you. Mike Ditka.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a player coach. He's gonna play tight end and coach the team.
Yeah. It's similar like John Madden, where he wasn't there for that long, but he was, it's not like he was there for 20, 30 years, like some of these other guys that we've seen in NFL history. But when he was there, the winning culture, won a title, and I think did enough to be considered the best coach in that franchise's history.
Agree.
All right.